Welcome to the Hope Streams podcast. I'm your host, Crystal Wade, and I am honored again for our special guest, CJ Wade, to be joining us. Welcome, CJ.
Thank you. It's still nice to be on this side of the microphone.
For sure. And have you ever heard of toddler tantrums?
Well, I have been told that I had a few of those in my younger years, not that I remember them.
Well, and I am sure so have all of the rest of us. But have you ever heard of grandparent and parent implosions or explosions?
Now, those I do remember.
Oh, no.
Experiencing some of.
So it happens. It happens on both sides. And in my family, we kind of have a running joke when it finally dawned on all of us that we never outgrow some things. We think we outgrow some things, but we don't. We do not outgrow the need for healthy nutrition and healthy detoxing and healthy naps and healthy outlets and healthy venting. We just don't outgrow some of those needs of childhood, and they just come out in, if we don't have those, they come out in different ways at age 2 versus 22 or 42 or whatever the age is.
62.
62.
Yeah, that's when you get back and societal pressure lifts off and you just decide and you realize, oh, wait, I do want ice cream for dinner and now nobody can stop me.
There you go. So I often hear parents and grandparents with the reaction of stress and frustration with their children or grandchildren over video games and media and tech. And I speak from experience here, so there's no condemnation, that we, parents and grandparents, are often cause in this cause and effect problem. Parents and grandparents can have a disproportionate response to our tweens and teens and even children because we understand where an ongoing attachment with the tech, with the video games, wherever it is headed. We thought our children would grow out of it. But what happened was we accidentally trained them in the way, which is what we had talked about earlier, the Derek, which is a way or a habit or course of life. And we're called by the Father to train our children in the way they should go, Proverbs 22:6. But we accidentally train them in ways which
that they should not go.
Yes, exactly. So if addiction continues and no change is made, this is why the many parents and grandparents are stressed and may have a disproportionate response, which is, their version of implosion, explosions, or maybe even tantrums, okay? No judgment, but it could happen. They are concerned about the undeveloped potential, where in the classic grown man in the basement syndrome, and they're also looking down the road and are concerned that their sons specifically and even daughters are severely disabled and gaining a healthy marriage with the opposite gender and then raising healthy children. But for whatever reason, we allowed the video games in their childhood and early years. We were trying to provide a good, safe outlet of enjoyment or entertainment to get a personal reprieve ourselves and or just to get our work done, and especially if we're working from home.
And if it's all in the right and proper balance, then it can be.
Right.
But if it's not, well, that's what we're talking about here today.
That's exactly right. So when we chose this outlet to survive the day in our children's growing up years, we were trying to get through the day, but it was forming them. It formed their brains to seek escape, to fill a deficit, a void, or meet a need. So by doing so, then there was an attachment or bond that was formed in them neurologically. And it's not just neurologically, because every experience that we have as a human being actually is through our whole person. We have the emotional response and the chemical response and all of these different biological functions happen in us when we experience something, whether that's positive or negative. And in brain chemistry, what we know now, and I just want to underscore that because the Lord had revealed to me in 2021 that we would look back and realize that these were the dark ages in terms of health and so forth. So
Yeah.
This is what we know now, is that the neurotransmitter dopamine is involved in the brain's reward system. And it regulates the feeling of pleasure and motivation. It is involved in reinforcement of repeat behavior. It's involved with the anticipation of reward. And addictive drugs increase the dopamine release. Also, very interesting and key for us to note, existing low levels of dopamine are the environment for depression and mood disorder. And our children can be biologically disposed to these low levels because of genetics. And I want to say in there that everybody is predisposed to something because of genetics, but that is not that doesn't define our future. It doesn't even define our future health, because we can exchange those with the Lord's genetics. That is actually what the new creation and the royal priesthood and the holy nation, which is biology, is part of in the new creation, in the blood, the DNA, the genome of Christ. So this doesn't have to stay, but it is a factor, and part of that involves our choice. Every choice changes things, and it impacts the epigenetics, which switch on and off genes, the genetic expression. So every choice matters, and it's changing the genes.
Yes, and it affects the genes. The epigenetics will switch on and off genes that get passed on to the next generation, just to make that more clear.
Yes, so it's affecting us and our children and our children's children, with the choice to choose self-control and turn off a video game, to go outside, to play, to have a healthy life balance, to take vitamin D. So from spiritual choices to physical choices, all of these are changing the epigenetics, as well as attending to our relationship with the Lord. So it's spiritually, it's physically, it's all of those different levels. However, I do want to say this one little note here, and I hope and pray that every parent and grandparent that needs to hear this will. If you have had a genetic predisposition, which is not your future, okay, you can change all of this in the Lord, then your children will have that tendency too. And as a result, that is an area that needs tending in your garden of your life, in you and in your children. Extra care, in other words, to if you are predisposed to work and you have that propensity for low moods and depression and anxiety and all of that, then it is important for you to get out in the sun. It is important for you to have healthy life balance. It is important for you to have rest, relaxation, and some fun. And also, I'm not a doctor, but it may be beneficial to talk to a functional doctor about getting your levels tested, because they may be low in different nutrients that are the building blocks to help dopamine build in the body, to undergird that deficiency. So it is the physical changes that you make in lifestyle, that you make in supplement change, that you make in food change, that you make in your relationship with the Lord. So,
and if all you need is just one supplement pill, oh, wouldn't you want to know that?
Yes, it can make such a big difference.
I'm not talking about a pharmaceutical drug.
Right.
I'm talking about an actual supplement pill, like a vitamin.
Right.
All you need to do is add one vitamin in, or a few, not many, to get that gain and be brought back to normalcy.
Yes.
Wouldn't you want to do it?
For sure. For sure. And again, this is all,
we're not talking about
Mm-hmm.
big pharmaceuticals or anything.
Right.
We're talking about vitamins.
Right. And a functional doctor can really give a lot of wisdom and direction in that. So when someone is working from a deficit in joy and in positive experiences, it's on the level of the whole person. It can be in their genetics and be in their emotions, and it can also be in the biological level of being low in specific vitamins or different areas that can be supplemented naturally. But that creates a vulnerability and a gap, okay, which is a deficit. So back to that healthy life balance, which the fullness of this is beyond the scope of this series, but I just want to pinpoint these couple points. It's a whole person makeover in the Lord, and that rest on time and attention to your relationship with the Lord and who you are as a new creation in Him. And also the spirit, soul, and physical, the biological needs recognized and met. So anyways, it's simple in terms of the complex and messy and unstable world that we live in, but it is countercultural. Then on the other side of this spectrum, and also related, are needs. Children face on the micro level what adults are facing on the macro level. And this is a paradigm that by and large we have not understood. We haven't understood, we haven't really seen it. And so we definitely haven't acknowledged it. And then the children are suffering. And we can, as parents, accidentally exacerbate this problem and then blame them. So part of the bonding or the attachment or the connection, the literal brain chemistry connection, which may be a big bond, a big attachment, or a small one. So in other words, if there are the voids and the deficits of those positive experiences in life and the positive flow of the neurotransmitters, then the child can very easily be vulnerable to being addicted to video games or whatever that we're allowing to fill the space of what is positive. Okay. And then also children have a sin nature as well as adults. Children can be tempted by the culture, which in Scripture is referred to as the world, and they can be enslaved and or tormented by the father's ancient enemy, okay? As well as what we talked about with their needs, and then the deficit and the positive experiences, and then also a desire to escape the pain and trouble in their environment, be that at home or school or with friends. So regarding needs, children on their micro level have the need for love and connection. They have a need for adventure. They have a need for power and control. They have a need for excitement, fun. They have a need for escape, especially if there is pain and trouble in their environment. And then also, I have to mention this, it's because, again, I'm always so amazed when I learn something new like this about how much we have not known about how things work according to the Father's design. So Dr. Carolyn Leaf, who is a neuroscientist, was talking about learning and neurology. And she was saying that with every new concept, everything that we learn, or even in conversations that we have, I think it's about 15 minutes, and it may be a lot less than that, the brain needs a break. So a pause, a rest is necessary in the brain in order to process new information, even to process a conversation. And we, by and large, do not give that to children, nor adults. We just, by and large, don't give it. And in fact, I had read an article from a doctor was talking about the heart needs time There was this, in fact, a surgeon was operating on a patient, and he was engaged, and as he was doing this surgery, he realized that the heart wasn't quite physically ready for the next step, and he paused and gave it that time, and then it took the next beat during a surgery. So
good of him to notice that.
yes, the Father designed our physical brain and our physical hearts to need rest stops. And we, by and large, do not incorporate that in the learning processes for our children in school. It's go, go, go all day long, and then come home and do homework, or go off to sports events or what have you. And the children do not have that downtime, and their physical body was designed to have it. And if they do not have it, they're going to snap after a while and seek escape and relief. And that's just on how we have not known how the Father's design works, which is separate from the issue as if they need to escape because their environment is painful and unrelenting. Also, there is a need for a sense of completion. Now, for us personally, there was a time that we set, a time limit on video games. It's like, okay, a 30-minute session. And it was discovered through this process that my son could not complete a level in 30 minutes. So the 30 minutes are up, and he gets off, and he is very angry. His blood pressure's up. And I'm like, well, why are you not, okay with this time limit? And thankfully, even along the way at that time and not years later, we were able to get through communication. And he was telling me, he could not finish the level. And so, it's the same thing as an adult. If we get interrupted in the middle of a task before we get to a good sense of completion, we're going to feel frustrated and angry too.
Yes. And another thing that might affect a child not being able to complete a level within 30 minutes might just be, they're still a child. They don't have the reasoning and the logic that an adult would or should have in that situation. So what may take an adult not very long would take a child a lot longer. Right.
And so it would just take, that knowing your child and having, as the parent, head space and heart space available yourself, which means that you're taking care of yourself, nurturing yourself with a healthy life balance and your spiritual relationship with the Lord, to be able to walk your child through, a flexible schedule, that there was trust space, that you could trust them to not be limited to 30 minutes, but be limited to finishing a level and then stopping. And when you do that, and I know we actually came to that in our family, that is nurturing the fruit of the spirit of self-control, to be able to say, I've had enough. I have the power to stop here. And so that sets up a very good habit, way of life in their childhood. But it does takes a work and effort, so the parents have to be taking care of themselves. So, okay, back to the frustration and of the parents and the grandparents. All right, I just want it to be made clear through this series, Endgame, that this is a complex topic that involves a lot of different components, and that we, the parents and the grandparents, have where we have allowed it to take up space in our children's lives, and then recognize where we may have blown up with anger and frustration at them when they are not exhibiting the fruit of the spirit of self-control. Well, are we? Do we have the head space and heart space to help them have head space and heart space? And then realize that, okay, it's not a realistic expectation for us to be like, okay, well, they'll just snap out of this habit when they're older. Well, no, they can't really, because they have been formed in a derrick. They have been formed in a way to escape, to get their needs met, to have their deficits met, attachment, bonding, all of those different things. And what another thing that as parents and grandparents we need to understand is it's not the same world as it was in the 50s and the 40s and the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Our experience was different. It was a non-virtual world. We were not online. It was, the children coming in really to the millennial, to 2000 and beyond, who came online. And so their experience, their reality has been different from ours. And our expectation has been based mainly on our experience and not their reality. There are so many restrictions on them in our modern life. I mean, when parents and administrators are blowing up with frustration and overreaction and repercussions to a little boy who is using his fingers to form a gun. He's not hurting anybody, but in our highly reactive society, they're cracking down on an elementary school boy for doing this when he is just being a little boy as the Father designed. Father designed little boys to have adventure, to use power, to be dangerous. But that has, a lot of training and nurture to get them all the way through childhood to adulthood safely with those designs that the Father put in them. So what I am saying is there is hardly any place that children can be free and experience a childhood that they can be true to their design as a little boy or a little girl that Father designed. But they can be free in a video game. So, dear friends, we're going to just close out this episode of Endgame, and I invite you to join us again as we continue to look into this complex topic with the hope and prayer for life and health and a good future for you and your children and grandchildren.